I have worked with people who have wanted ultimately to do their own practice, but I'm also now really looking for people who want to work in a group practice because I realize how much work I put into developing people in this practice, right? We're going to go into so much of this, but my goal really is to have Mind by Design be a place that people can come and do the work that they want to do. The flexibility and the kind of relationships you have with clientele who come through these doors is so amazing. And it just feels great every day to be going to work.
Welcome to the Empower LEP Collaborative Podcast, a podcast to empower, inspire, and collaborate with aspiring and practicing licensed educational psychologists and like-minded professionals. We're your hosts, Jana Parker and Bethany Zoeller, bringing professionals together to talk business, private practice, and find inspiration from our community.
Welcome to the Empower LEP Collaborative Podcast. I'm Bethany Zoeller.
And I'm Jana Parker.
And we are excited to just start having conversations with LEPs in the community. We wanted to give you a little information about who we are. So Jana, do you want to start and tell us who you are and why you're here?
Sure. My name is Jana Parker, and I am an LEP. I work in private practice. I was a school psychologist for many years, I think around 12. I transitioned into program specialist for 4 years. I worked alongside my public education practice in a private practice. And when I started becoming a program specialist, I realized that that was not the route that I wanted to go, but I also realized how much I loved working in private practice. But I knew that in order for me to grow, I needed to take a leap and go out on my own. So I spent almost 7 years at somebody else's private practice before I felt confident enough to go out on my own. But I knew that that's what I wanted. And I also knew that I wanted a group practice. And so I thought, well, this is it. I need to take the leap, start my own practice, and then slowly build that up so that I felt like I had a nest egg and I could actually leave the schools. And so 15 years after I started in public schools, I left. And now it's been a year and a half that I've been completely out on my own. I have a practice called Mind by Design. Thank you. And I have grown from a solo practitioner with a sole proprietorship up to a corporation with 8 employees and myself. So I have a multidisciplinary practice and I absolutely love it. I was so afraid to start this and so afraid to leave the schools. But once I made that leap, I literally have never looked back. And my goal really is to, through Mind by Design, I want to employ educational psychologists and other practitioners in the educational field like I'm doing. And I really want to make it a place where people can grow and stay. So I'm trying to figure out ways to provide a package good enough to provide a good salary and benefits and the things that are going to make that piece of practice enticing. But also, I don't want to work by myself and I want to work in a group. So there's definitely pros and cons to working by yourself or working in a group. But I'm really enjoying the collaboration that I have with my team. I'm enjoying the business aspect of it, even though it's very difficult. And I'm working with people who I have worked with people who have wanted ultimately to do their own practice. But I'm also now really looking for people who want to work in a group practice because I realize how much work I put into developing people in this practice, right? We're going to go into so much of this, but my goal really is to have Mind by Design be a place that people can come and do the work that they want to do. The flexibility and the kind of relationships you have with clientele who come through these doors is so amazing. And it just feels great every day to be going to work. And so what I did on the side of that, because as school psychologists, we are always trying to do too many things.
Yes.
So I also took over the amazing group Empower LEP. And so I've been running that for almost 2 years now, even though it's still at its infancy stages and what I anticipate it being. But this podcast is part of it because there is so much to learn and so many things to think about. And there are also so many different areas that we can all bring our expertise to. Like the thing
Yes.
about being an LEP is that you get to practice the way you want to practice, and you don't have to just take every case that comes across your desk. And so what we can learn from
It's fun.
each other in this profession is really exciting. And so I want Empower LEP to be a place where people who are thinking about transitioning into private practice, as well as people who are already doing it, can share experiences, learn from each other, get ideas, and just feel inspired. Because school psychology is a very inspiring profession. And I think it also, because of how difficult it is, especially being in schools, it can also, and just dealing with all the things that we deal with the families and the kids that are coming our way, it can really take a toll as well. And so I really want to stay like positive and learning. What I love about this profession is that it's always changing. We're always growing. I think that with the COVID shutdowns and everything that happened then, I think people saw this new way of potentially being able to work. And with the rise of social media and just kind of like people being able to see that other people are doing different things besides just working in a school district, I think it's expanding our ideas of what we could bring to this field. So I'm really excited. That's kind of, me. I think I just went off on like a too long of a tangent, but
It's all good. It's all good. It's good stuff.
but that's what's brought me here. And so I'm excited, for our listeners, Bethany and I both had this idea of doing a podcast. So we're kind of bringing this together because while I've been thinking Empower LEP, she's been thinking LEP Collaborative, and they're really aligned. And so we want to bring our communities together and see what kind of awesome stuff we can do. So I guess with that, Bethany, tell me about you.
Sure. So I am the backwards of you. That doesn't make sense, but that's where we're going to go with it. Okay. So I started off as a sole proprietor. I walked across the stage with my school psychology degree, pregnant with my first baby, and was like, you know what? Let's just start a business right off the bat. And so I did. And so I had a sole proprietor school psych contracting company. And I had planned on it being a short-term thing. It was just going to be until I was done babying and they were at school and all those things. And then I fell in love with it. I loved the autonomy. I loved the independence. I loved the variety. So I was working at anywhere between 4 and 6 school districts a year. And I just kind of bounce around and do whatever I was needed to do. And it was fantastic. And then I'd say I was full-time by around year 5, still working as a sole proprietor, had no idea what I was doing. But like we kind of have shared with each other, there's no rule book for beat, like there's no guide. And so my business kept growing. I got to the point where I had school districts calling me and I would get to tell them no. And it was just an amazing experience to like not have to be calling people, and begging for work or applying for jobs. I just had school districts that would call me and say, hey, Bethany, we want you to cover our school psych services next year. And I'd go, I'm full, sorry. Wow. And so it was really, really great. And then I had this weird week where my phone kept ringing for IEEs. And I kept having to tell them, like, I don't know how I'm even getting called for these things because I'm not on any lists. And so I tracked it down to the referral source to my very first fieldwork supervisor, who is an amazing, amazing woman. She's now got her doctorate in clinical psychology and works here in town. And so she referred me to these places thinking I was an LEP when we had the conversation. And I'm like, I don't have one. And she was like, well, why not? That was her response.
Right.
I loved it. And so it was very point blank. And I'm like, you're right. And so I started the journey to LEP. It really just aligned with what I'd already been doing. I actually didn't know that I shouldn't have been a contractor as a school psychologist until I was studying for my LEP exam. Apparently not in the ethical list.
You know, that doesn't make
I,
sense though, because if you're a school psychologist contracting school psychology services
yes,
at
they,
schools,
per the ethics, they want you to be, if you're a school psychologist, you need to be employed by either a, a school district, or there actually is the caveat, a staffing agency. And I was neither. So don't tell on me, anybody that's listening to this.
we're like
Um,
already getting in trouble.
right? It's all fine. It's
We're
all fine.
shut down.
And we're done. That was our first episode. Take off. No, but so I got my LEP in 2020 after attempting to take that test. I don't know how many, I think it was 3 times, but the world was broken then. So it was like I'd have it scheduled and then it would get bumped. And so yeah, so I have my LEP practice for the last 3 years. I incorporated in 2021, which was huge. I don't know why, but it was like I expected there to be a party or something. I'm like, this is a big deal. And I remember the lawyer that I worked with was just laughing at me hysterically because I'm like giddy. I'm like, I have an incorporation. Yay, I'm an S Corp. Yeah. So well, let me see. So I do these things. I teach at Fresno Pacific University for school psych students. And so I love teaching. I love early career mentorship. And so the LEP Collaborative, the other side, the reason I'm here today, was actually inspired by a student of mine. And she would always laugh because I was telling her, oh, I'm talking to this person because they want more information about being an LEP. And I'm talking to this person because they want more information about being an LEP. And she was like, you know what, you really should just turn that into something. And I was like, oh, okay. And so this last summer, I started a website, LEP Collaborative, and launched my first class, which is a business basics course, because the stuff didn't exist. And yeah, so I have that going on. I recently started a Facebook group, which is slowly growing. Have a blog that is every Friday that I kind of talk about business stuff and my journey as an LEP. And really, this podcast is just, I'm excited. I'm excited to partner with you, Jana. We actually don't know each other very well, so this will be fun to kind of get to know each other in this setting. But really, I love to learn from other people that are in this profession, because my LEP practice and your LEP practice and all these wonderful people that we're going to talk to, they don't match, and it's fantastic. Yeah. And I just love having the opportunity to learn from other people and then share what I've learned along the way. And so that's my dream for this podcast, is that we really can just help build a community where we support each other, where we learn from each other. Because being an LEP, being a school psych, it really kicks butt. And I've been able to create a job that, like you, I look forward to going to every day. I love my little office. I love my little space. And and so that's what I wish for everybody. Like, find that passion. Get to do that thing that you enjoy every single day. You can't complain.
Absolutely. I have so many questions for you, but I feel like this is a good intro of who we are. And I don't want to go on too long, but I would love to interview you and learn even more about your practice. I think we should do that as part of our.
And we'll do that for you as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, if everybody listening is interested in continuing to hear Bethany and I talk all things LEP and learn from each other and learn from other people in our field, then this is the place for you. And if you would like to be an interviewee on our show, you can always reach out. You can reach me at jana@empowerlep.com and Bethany at
lepcollaborative.com. Yeah.
Bethany at lepcollaborative.com. Okay, good. I just want to make sure I got that. And like Bethany said, you can see her and reach her at LEP Collaborative, and I can be found on Empower LEP, both on Facebook. There's a Facebook group, there's a Facebook page. There's also an Instagram account where I try to get.
Yeah, I don't have an Instagram. I need to get an Instagram.
You do. Yeah. I mean, it's very hard. And I'll tell you guys, I'm on the tail end of being social media savvy. I am not a millennial. Okay. I'll just put it that way. I'm not even a millennial. And so I'm doing my best on social media, but I'm not great. I'm not great at it. But I'm trying, so when I get on Instagram, I really just try to talk about what I'm doing, during the day, give some guidance, or just kind of like things that come up for me, because they're different. They're different every day. And I think they're probably interesting to people, some people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, find us, listen in, and we're going to be bringing episodes to you every week.
Thank you for listening to the Empower LEP Collaborative podcast. Episodes can be found at empowerlepcollaborative.com. If you liked what you heard, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, or if you have any questions for us, don't hesitate to connect. We would love to learn more. Jana can be found at jana@empowerlep.com, and Bethany can be reached at bethany@lepcollaborative.com.